Now, we're going to the independent member for Clark.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Housing. Minister, I acknowledge today's announcement that you intend to invest $1.5 billion over the next 10 years to deliver an additional 6,500 homes by 2032. However, this is 10 years away and your government's track record of hitting targets is not good. Minister, people need homes now. Will your government move immediately to ease the housing pressures by limiting short-stay accommodation to rooms in the owner's principal place of residence? Such a move will free up entire properties to be returned to the long-term rental market. Minister, Tasmanians need roofs over their heads now, not in 10 years' time.
Minister for Infrastructure.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for her question. And Mr Speaker, the government is very proud to today be unveiling a very strong and emboldened plan to build more houses for Tasmanians. Mr Speaker, it's absolutely the case that we have taken to the last election, Mr Speaker, not 1 year ago, the boldest plan already to continue our track record of delivering 1,500 additional homes by June of next year, and we're on track, Mr Speaker. I'm pleased to advise the House we're on track to deliver that, and we have got the construction sector in Tasmania working extremely hard, working, Mr Speaker, and delivering more houses than ever before. We've seen more record in housing starts, Mr Speaker, and we're also seeing now record in housing completions being delivered, and Mr Speaker, the record does stand and speak for itself. Additionally, Mr Speaker, it has to be recognised that we do have significant pressure on our housing sector here in Tasmania, and Ms Johnston would be more than aware of that. And we're seeing rising prices and we're seeing increasing rentals. That all comes back, Mr Speaker, to the fact that the economy is so strong. Tasmanians are no longer leaving the state as they were under Labor and the Greens when they had to flee the state looking for work. In fact, the opposite is now occurring. That's right. People are returning to the state. Tasmanians are coming back home, taking up these opportunities, and more interstate people are wanting to call Tasmania their home because it's the hottest economy in the country, Mr Speaker, and of course the jobs market here is so incredibly strong. Mr Speaker, I would struggle to have believed as a boy growing up in this state that the unemployment rate here could be 3.8%, and that is what it stands at, Mr Speaker. But we need to do more, and Tasmanians have been telling us they don't just want to see short-term delivery, they want to see long-term plans as well. That's why at the last election we took a bolder plan to go beyond the 23 target and to then reach a further 2,000 homes by 2027, Mr Speaker. And we will deliver that. But, Mr Speaker, Tasmanians want ambition. They want aspiration. And that's why the Premier this afternoon will be providing further detail through you, Mr Speaker, to Ms Johnston. I encourage you to listen closely to the Premier's address, because we will go further and we'll continue to build and deliver more housing for Tasmanians, and we will make it so much easier for Tasmanians to get into the great Australian dream of home ownership, Mr Speaker, and giving them an entry into the housing market. So there's a lot to do. Ms Johnston, you could play a role, indeed any member of this House can play a role and support the government in a range of policies to help release more residential land, to help the construction and residential construction sector to really hit its straps, to support us through the housing strategy as well, and to consider innovative new models such as build to rent, Mr Speaker, so that we can actually get the pipeline of housing moving even more seamlessly than is currently the case. Mr Speaker, it's the case right now that the housing industry is booming. Not just government-sponsored housing, not just our partnerships with housing, community housing providers, but also in the private sector. Ask any council and they will tell you in their planning section that they are approving more housing applications right now than ever before. In relation to your element of your question, which went to planning and short-stay accommodation, we've been very clear on this, Mr Speaker. The only way that you can address the growing demand for housing is to increase supply. And the way that you do that is by building more homes. And interestingly, Labor's policy, which I wonder where, Greens policy, where I wonder where the Labor Party are, about taxing homes, Mr Speaker, as some sort of way of delivering more housing, demonstrates the fallacy of those who believe that you can tax your way into more housing, Mr Speaker. The simple way that we will address this is by working with our community housing providers and our shelters.
If you could wind up, please, Minister.
Anybody that right now who's in hard times or who needs housing support, we will support them and we encourage them to reach out to Housing Connect. But, Mr Speaker, in closing, I commend members of this House to the Premier's address this afternoon. It will be a watershed speech in relation to the way this House and this Parliament can promote and sponsor more housing, not just in the short term, but over the next 10 years.